This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed Daily Business News for people who make their own decisions. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Now, Sean, our weekend show is vastly different to our weekday show because here, this is a competition. We are each nominating what we think is the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable business story, a sleeper story, which is one that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, or is going to be a bigger story further down the track. So we've got to do a bit of kind of fortune telling there. And then our favourite story as well as another category. And because it's a competition, we need a judge to decide a winner. And that judge is our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Sleepy.
We've had a little incident this morning.
Yes, a reportable incident.
That normally, this recording would have happened half an hour ago.
Half an hour ago? An hour ago.
I'm being kind. I'm being generous. One of the three of us, the one who was tasked with keeping us in line with order and responsibility and all of this kind of thing, we were just sitting in the studio, Sean and I, just looking at each other going, what's going on here?
Yeah, a rare event. It's like time stood still and in a way didn't matter. Yeah, I slept in. I'm very sorry.
Wow. Very, very, for new listeners, Adam is the pedant.
Yeah.
He's the guy that gets there at 2 minutes to 6.
Stop praising me.
He loves spreadsheets. He loves, when you buy something on the company credit card, which doesn't happen that often, you get this email, did you spend $7.51 and do you have a receipt?
Yeah.
Look, I'm just thinking on behalf of the ATO.
That's our man, Adam.
They need and want to know.
Anyway.
Adam, I am hoping that this will not kind of impair your judgments this morning.
No.
It's certainly not going to make them more erratic than they usually are. I don't know whether that's actually possible. What, just very quickly, because we want to get straight into the show this morning.
Good.
What are you looking for? What are the criteria that you will be searching for as Sean and I give you our story nominations?
Very good. So we have the biggest, the most remarkable, the sleeper, and the favourite story of the week categories. All 4 categories will be judged on this: topicality, timeliness, economic impact, because we're a business news podcast. My subjective bias, I'd like it if you play to that a little. And, of course, the theatrics, the melodrama. Bring it.
All right. Okay. I think we can tick most of those boxes. Shall I go first? Sean, are you okay with this if I go first for the biggest story?
I would love you to go first.
Well, I am talking about there's only one contender, actually, for the biggest story. So it's a little bit unfair. It's what we used to call in high school a non-debate, like denying the opposition a debate. In debating.
Were you a debater at school?
Yes, of course. I was a nerd.
Was? Yeah.
So, don't you, like you can talk. Heck.
I embrace my nerdiness.
He would have been the debate captain.
Yeah. The economic growth. We need to talk about the economy. The Australian economy grew by just 0.3% in the September quarter. That is 0.8%, 0.8% annual growth in GDP. This is me almost in a panic, right?
Crazy stuff from Michael.
Of the economy, excluding the pandemic, right?
What's happened, Michael? Tell us.
That is the weakest annual GDP figure since the early 90s recession. The last time growth was this bad.
Except for the pandemic. Don't forget that
I did
part.
say that. I did say
sorry.
that. You were talking
listening.
over me. You tuned out.
Listening.
Your eyes glazed over and you closed your ears and you just switched off.
Yep. Keep going.
The last time growth was this bad, I Touch Myself was on the charts.
What was her name?
Chrissy Amphlett.
Chrissy
Divinals.
Amphlett.
Great band.
Magnificent singer.
I'm Too Sexy was also there as well.
Right Said Fred.
Yes. Like, some of our listeners might not have even been alive when economic growth was this bad.
Many of them.
Yeah. Like this is extraordinary stuff.
Really?
Yes, it is. When you take a deep dive, right? It's just like a as I'm doing this little deep dive, I look more like a meerkat than anything else kind of diving.
Yeah.
And I realize now that doing this, that video is going to end up on our Instagram or something. So I'm filled with regret. The trade and residential construction added slightly to growth. Lower consumer spending detracted from it. All right. Private sector demand going backwards without public sector spending. Here is the key, right? Here is the key to all of this. Without public sector spending, we would be in serious trouble right now. And we had Treasurer Jim Chalmers making the comment that the private sector needs to drive growth from here. That is a call to arms to the business community to save the Australian economy. Now, business has hit back at that, telling Jim Chalmers that, hey, you're the problem, mate. The bosses of BHP and Wesfarmers have said, if you want the private sector to recover, if you want us to lead this charge, then you need to make some changes. You need to overhaul the uncompetitive tax system. You need to reverse the changes that your government has made to IR laws, to industrial relations laws. It is on. This is a battle between the government and business now. The RBA meets next week. They would have been surprised, I suspect, by these numbers because they were forecasting higher growth by the end of the year. They are still, though, focused on inflation and getting that lower, so no rate cuts anytime soon. Biggest story of the week by far, economic growth and what it now means for this showdown between government and business in Australia, what it all means for every single one of us living in this country. Sean, over to you.
When everyone woke up on Thursday morning, Friday morning, even this morning, do you think their life changed because we had an economic growth figure of 0.3% during the September quarter?
I suspect it did.
What about if they went to the shops? What if they went to Woolies to buy their favourite tonic water, for example? Not on the shelf. What if they went to buy their favourite spread for breakfast?
Oh, the humanity, Sean.
The humanity. What if they went to do their shopping basket and couldn't find the food they want? The biggest story of the week in terms of actually impacting people, as opposed to some academic economics out there. Michael, you were talking about, was it a final public demand, right? I don't even think you knew what that means. That means government spending. Like, put it into English. If you're going to talk to people, public demand is government spending, everyone out there, right? Michael had no idea what he was talking about. What really mattered this week?
How dare you? How dare you? Adam, penalise this man.
For new listeners, normally I always did the economic stories, but the atrocious behaviour of both Michael and Adam meant I had a dummy spit about 4 months ago. I mean, it was dessert. I mean, I should have had a dummy spit. And I refused to do economics for the rest of the year. So we end up with Michael doing economics, talking about stuff he has no idea about. Anyway.
And you know what? As the man of the people, this guy over here.
The heavy load.
The meerkat in the studio, I am happy to take on that burden. Because you know what? I talk about how it affects me. And if it affects me, it affects everyday Joes and Ricks and Frannies in the street.
Why are you talking about final public demand?
Sean, move on.
The big story is the fact you go to Woolies, the shelves aren't stocked. It's because of a warehouse workers' strike, 3 sites in Victoria, 1 in New South Wales. It's also hitting Endeavour Group outlets. That's Dan Murphy's, BWS. Now, Woolies has been negotiating with the United Workers Union for 4 months. They want a pay increase of well over 25% over 3 years. They also want Woolies to scrap a new set of rules around how fast workers operate. That seems to be the pointy end of it. At the end of the day, right, what affects people in real life? It's whether or not you can go to the store, buy your goods, get your stuff for Christmas. I mean, this is happening in December, which is the biggest time of the year for Woolies in terms of sales. So they'll lose tens of millions of dollars on the back of it. But the common folk, Michael, the common folk who just want their, what is it, elderflower? What is it?
Elderflower.
Elderflower.
Sean, the biggest question, the biggest concern most people have is whether this story will finish before Christmas. This is going on.
Rob Scott, the boss of Wesfarmers, not Woolies, the boss of Wesfarmers, he came out and said repercussions will be far-reaching. Industrial disputes are eating into supply chains. That's going to be felt in prices. We're going to end up with higher prices. Inflation is going to kick off again. That's kind of what he was inferring. I'm not sure whether it's quite true. Of course, we've got a cost of living crisis going on. Michael, I appreciate your story may win this because Adam likes all that boring academic stuff. But in terms of what actually affects people, what matters, whether or not you can buy your stuff out of Woolies or Coles or Dan Murphy's, that's what matters. Adam.
I love that Dan Murphy's is singled out there. And so far you've mentioned gin and tonics. It feels as though
it is Christmas.
You might have a problem. Sorry, Adam, over to you for your judgment.
Well, look, I, like Sean, am very concerned about the great fever tree crisis of 2024.
Fever tree, that's it. The fever tree crisis. I like it.
This is the struggle of the people. However, I must give this one to Michael this week. GDP figures have it. They're the biggest story of the week. Well done, Michael.
Why?
Because it was so well argued.
Because of final public demand, whatever the hell that is.
See, I don't even remember saying those words.
It's a saucy statistic, after all. But look, I think we're all feeling it, right? It's as we go about going
in Woolies. Too right.
In Woolies. Not just in the fever tree aisle.
That's right. And
every aisle.
Cereal as well, Special K.
Hey, Adam.
Milk.
Adam, what do you think of this showdown between business and government? Just like those business leaders just throwing down the gauntlet.
Okay, so I
loved.
Oh,
absolutely loved it.
Come on. This is just
Jim Chalmers, take the brakes off. This
is just business doing its normal thing, like the unions do their normal things, like the government doing their normal things.
People.
Hey, I'm not arguing against them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just the politics of it happens day in, day out.
Even when Parliament has stopped, it still goes on.
Absolutely. At Christmas Day, they'll be having a crack. They really will. Let's get on to the most remarkable story, Michael. Can I go first?
Yeah, please.
You're leading 1-0.
Yeah, try and redeem yourself, Sean. Sorry, that's nasty. You know what? In the spirit of Christmas is coming. You know what, Sean? Just do your best. Do your best.
No,
son.
That's not condescending.
James with faint praise there.
Most remarkable story. One of the stories of the year, I would say, and certainly this week was a critical point. Bitcoin hitting $100,000 a unit. That is truly remarkable. Let me quote from that august institution, the Reserve Bank of Australia. Cryptocurrencies have no legislated or intrinsic value. They are simply worth what people are willing to pay for them in the market. End quote. Clearly, there are people in the market willing to pay $100,000 a year for one Bitcoin. Now, the surge this week came after President-elect Donald Trump nominated a crypto enthusiast, Paul Atkins, to be the next chair of the SEC. The SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's the regulator in the US. The regulator at the moment doesn't particularly like cryptos. The Biden administration doesn't particularly like cryptos. Well, when Donald Trump gets the gig, they're all going to love cryptos. And that means that Bitcoin's up 40% in the last month. Ethereum, 40%. Binance, 22%, Solana, 25%. How about Cardano? This is a blockchain technology. It's up 227%. Dogecoin, a favorite of Elon Musk, up 170, 180%. Now, keep in mind, there are about 10,000 cryptocurrencies out there. Many are inactive, but there are still thousands that are active. The fact that these currencies, which, can I repeat to you in the august words of the Reserve Bank, no legislated, no intrinsic value. The fact that Bitcoin's hitting $100,000, remarkable. Adam. Oh, no, not Adam. Michael.
Not yet.
Adam, declare me winner. Move on.
That was a little bit kind of preemptive there. You might have gone off a little early.
You got to admit, it's pretty good. You got your work cut out for you now, Michael.
Oh, look at Michael now. Yeah.
Hang on.
Like to see the meerkat business now.
A little reminder for listeners that the judge is supposed to be impartial.
I'd also like to remind listeners that the judging is totally arbitrary.
You don't need to remind listeners of that, Sean. If they just listen to one episode, they will identify that themselves quite quickly. Look, we witnessed something truly remarkable, truly remarkable this week. Not something that we would have seen coming, like with, say, Bitcoin surging. It's been surging on and off all year. It was setting records for most of the year. This is, look, this week we saw something happen that came out of the blue. It shocked the world because it took place in one of the economic powerhouses of the world and of Asia specifically in South Korea, right? The South Korean president, Yoon Suk-yeol.
We've had him on the show a fair bit, haven't we?
I will turn off your microphone. I have the power to do this, Sean, if need be. He imposed martial law on the country overnight on Tuesday. He did it in an unscheduled broadcast, declaring that he needed to purge the country of anti-state forces. He was basically using the threat of North Korea working with the opposition and other groups, and said that he'll root out the conspirators, he'll normalize the country. Well, the people did not stand for that. The whole thing lasted, 4, 5, 6 hours before opposition MPs managed to get into Parliament, pass a vote rejecting martial law, and the military, which had been surrounding Parliament, was withdrawn. And if you've seen the pictures, these are remarkable images and videos of the military and the civilians and the politicians trying to get past them. And the military didn't even want to be there. They basically were saying, almost saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to be doing this. We just have to do it.
Did they really say that? Did you hear them say that?
Well, I don't speak the language, but I'm reliably informed based on the commentary that I read. Sean, people forget this, but South Korea has a brutal past of oppression, of coups and violence. It hasn't always been the economic powerhouse that it is today. It is the home. Keep this in mind. Adam, pick up your pen, write this down. South Korea is the home of global giants like Samsung, like LG, like Kia, like Hyundai. So the fact that this even happened at all is just remarkable. It has a major flow-on effect to global markets, to the countries that trade with South Korea, including Australia. Never mind the fact that a deep sleeper, let's just call him Adam Lang, if he had gone to sleep on Tuesday night, right, he would have woken up fresh as a daisy on Wednesday morning without even realizing that anything had happened. It all took place. All of this turmoil took place within those hours when people would normally be sleeping. It is a remarkable and really troubling period for South Korea, Adam.
So, look, it's not an easy win, but it is a win to Sean. The $100,000 mark on cryptos. And I really am perplexed by cryptos. And look, it's a spectacular and remarkable story on South Korea, Michael. Well done. But $100,000 for something that's not worth anything? It's really incredible. So well done, Sean. You win.
I'm just slightly peeved that it wasn't an easy win.
Oh, no. We are about to see another legendary
It's not enough to win.
Sean Aylmer dummy spit. These things are happening more and more regularly. Let's take a quick break. We will come back in a moment and find a sleeper story of the week. All right, Sean, we are looking for a sleeper story of the week. Now, a sleeper story is, of course, one that is flying under the radar a little bit, or one that is going to become a bigger story further down the track, and therefore the fuse was lit on that story in the past week. Also, I'm going to go first on this.
Sorry, a sleeper story. Fuse has been there. A low-profile story, the one we haven't heard. Okay, go on.
Did you really need to point that out? Because it feels
Absolutely.
That was very deliberate.
New listeners, it's important that they know. This is about a story that you've never heard of. Go on.
Okay, mine's not exactly a low-profile story, but it is one that we are going to be hearing about for a long, long, long time to come. The fuse, I can assure you, has been definitively lit this week. The outgoing US president, Joe Biden, has pardoned his... Don't make that face at me, Adam.
What? No. Tell me. There's news here I haven't heard. Go on,
tell me. No
one's
heard this before. Joe Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter. for federal felony
No.
gun and tax. Wait,
Did
that is not the sleeper element. Just let me give you the background.
Okay.
Oh,
Jeepers.
God, here we go.
Just calm your farm. Pardoned his son Hunter, federal felony gun and tax convictions. It was a controversial decision because he'd previously promised not to use his powers to benefit his family. So, as further background, Hunter Biden was convicted in 2 cases. There was one in California, one in Delaware. He was waiting on what his punishment was going to be. The pardon means he's going to avoid jail. Now, the thing is here, Hunter Biden has been used against Joe Biden throughout his whole presidency. He had a drug addiction and associated problems there. The reason why this is so controversial and the reason why it is a sleeper story that we will be hearing a lot about in various contexts into the future is that Joe Biden said Hunter Biden's charges were political and Hunter Biden was singled out. That's why he was pardoned. Now, does this sound familiar to anyone else? It is the same argument that Donald Trump makes, alleging that the judicial system and the Department of Justice in the US is biased against him. Now,
Point of order, Judge. Point of order.
Yes.
So we have heard a lot over the last few minutes about how this week lit the fuse to something totally new. Now, in the last 30 seconds, I think Michael said, so, does this sound familiar? Does this sound like Donald Trump? Just pointing that out. On you go, Michael.
He's leading with his chin there.
I don't care what either of you say. I don't even care if I win.
It's shaping up well.
Donald Trump is no stranger, of course, to pardons, right? At the end of his last presidency, he pardoned a whole lot of very colourful characters. It was a bit of a pardoning free-for-all, things like kind of campaign finance crimes, all that kind of thing. I don't envy Joe Biden's position. It would be awful seeing his son go through this. But by saying it was political, right, that's the key here, and using his powers to pardon his son, Joe Biden and the Democrats have lost the moral high ground on this issue. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Donald Trump will not let them forget it. That's why this is the week in which that fuse has been lit, because of the use of that term, that the charges were political, therefore justifying a pardon. There you go, done. That's it, all done. It's probably.
Out with your words.
No, I can't. I'm not going to give in. You know what? I've made this mistake before where I just capitulate and just go, no, Sean's win. I deserve to win. What's your story, Sean?
Sure, we're at the top of the market. We know all about that. The S&P ASX 200 hit a new record high this week. You know the story, Commonwealth Bank doing really well, WiseTech Global, Goodman Group, etc., etc. What's really interesting this week, though, the sleeper part, is if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't have realised that a couple of owners of really successful companies are selling down their stock. Do they know something we don't? Do they think the market's at the peak? Do they think it's time to get out? Now, the founder of Buy Now, Pay Later Group, Zipco, a guy called Larry Diamond, he resigned. He cashed in $100 million of shares. He's going to found his own home office. He started the business in 2013. He floated in 2016. It got to as high as $12 a share in the COVID days, fell to as low as 26 cents late last year, up 700% over the last 12 months. He's just gone, I'm out of here. Pro Medicus, incredible company, run by a couple of guys, or founded by a couple of guys, Sam Hupert and Anthony Hall, who still run it. They sold 2 million shares on Tuesday night, worth about $500 million. It spooked the market just a touch. They had to come out the next day and say, hey, we're not selling anymore. Now, this company, it's radiology imaging, makes x-rays and the transfer of x-rays and the diagnosis from x-rays much easier. I reckon it's the best large cap of the last year. It came into the top 100 in March, now a top 25 stock, up 200% over the past year. It's only got 2 big shareholders, the 2 founders, Hupert and Hall. They own about $12 billion worth of stock, but they've started selling. So you just wonder, when founders start selling, do they know something we don't know? That's why I think it's a cracking sleeper story. We have the market at a high, but people in the middle of it, they're just starting to sell down.
And obviously, we're not an investing podcast. And
absolutely not. Do not take any investment advice from us whatsoever, because we don't do it for profession. Go and find a financial advisor.
Yeah, well said. Adam, What do you think, bro?
Bro.
Sean wins. The
Oh.
founders selling down is absolutely a sleeper story. And
From a man who knows sleep.
very good. Yes, for someone familiar with sleep. Zipco, Promedicus, people selling out. And look, good on them. They've created
totally. Oh,
massive
absolutely.
wealth for themselves.
Good on him.
And
Totally.
so well played. I think that's a great sleeper story.
2-1.
2-1.
Normally, Adam's judgments are a lot more verbose. They're very short today.
Well, when you're not adding much.
Did you say when I'm not adding much, Sean?
So, Michael, let's move on to
Okay.
our favourite story of the week.
You go for it. Just
Want me to go for it?
Yeah, please.
So I was fortunate enough this week to be invited to the launch of Future Generation Women. Now,
Where was our invite?
Yeah, I just love how he opens with that. It's just more of just rub it in that, hey,
Lucky,
I was invited.
A little bit of salt in
And
the
you
wound.
weren't. Yeah, sorry, go on.
God, it's difficult putting up with you two. FutureGen is a fantastic organisation. It's an investment house. It's got about $100 billion under management. It raises money for charities. What it does, investors put their money into it. They then get, Future Generation, run by Jeff Wilson, who from Wilson Asset Management, Caroline Gurney. What they do is they take the money, they find fund managers to pro bono invest that money. The fees that they would normally charge goes to charities. As a result, about $90 million has gone to charities over the last 10 years from Future Gen. It is a fantastic organisation.
Amazing.
They've created it. Michael beat this story. The judge intervened. We like it. They've got a new fund, Future Generation Women. It'll be an unlisted trust part of the Future Gen group. All the investing in this fund will be by women fund managers. The idea is it actually helps drive strong gender equity practices. There's no performance fees, no management fees. The goal is to provide strong returns. 1% of assets each year will go to non-profits, particularly non-profits that help economic equality or inequality and opportunity for women and their children in Australia. Now, the Minderoo Foundation, Andrew and Nicola Forrest Foundation, has committed $100 million to it to kickstart things off. Now, remember, this is an investment, a $100 million investment, which they're giving to Future Gen Women to invest. They still own the money. They get the benefit of the returns, and the returns from Future Gen have actually outdone the market over the last 10 years. The fact that this fund is specifically managed by women who, in terms of academic studies, women manage better than men, and is raising money for charities to help women and their children. Just a cracking idea. I think Jeff Wilson, Caroline Gurney, congratulations. It really is something that we in such a wealthy country should be more philanthropic like the US is, and this is the way of doing it. Cracking story. Michael Thompson, over to you. Beat that.
That is a really good story, Sean. Adam's going to criticize my story. I just know it. I feel it. I feel it in my bones. He's going to say that's not news, but I don't care, Adam. I don't care.
Okay.
This is big news for shoppers. It is big news in the world of retail, and it is a trend, and it is a revelation.
A revelation.
We might be in the middle of a cost of living crisis, but customers don't care so much about price. What? They don't. They care about what? They care about service. They care about delivery, right? Major US retailers such as Amazon and Walmart and Target, they have realized this, and they have gone from kind of 2-day delivery, then 1-day delivery, then same-day delivery. They'll often charge for it, obviously, because it's an expensive process getting things out so quickly. And Amazon found, surprise, surprise, that speedy deliveries make customers both loyal and more willing to spend money. This is a trend that is emerging. It is a realization, a revelation out of the US, and it is making its way slowly here. Walmart's doing delivery in as little as half an hour. That is something quite extraordinary. because it is so close geographically to a lot of people within the US. Target is nearly a day faster than it was a year ago. The revelation, right? Deliver fast. Customers keep coming back. A lesson for Australian retailers, and a lesson in particular, if I may, to one particular retailer in Australia. It might be one of the large grocery chains
in your neighbourhood.
That one day this week.
Is shelves stocked or not? Shelves stocked?
The shelves were stocked on this particular one, so it could rhyme with, I don't know, moles or voles or something. I don't know. I'm not very good with rhyming words.
Bowls.
Yeah, bowls. There we go. Anyway, so we paid for these super fast, like the fast delivery. So it gets there within...
Hold on. No. Hold, step back. So you do home delivery from your supermarket?
Yes.
Wow. Do you, Adam?
No.
What? Oh, my God.
Nah.
I want to choose.
And
the
are
items.
so millennial.
Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the greatest demonstration of the generation gap that you will ever see.
I'm with you totally.
So right, we paid for the fast delivery, so it gets there within pretty much an hour, okay, from the time that you order it.
What is the premium involved for that?
Well, not if you are and here's a savings hack for you. Not if you are like members of the various kind of loyalty things and you get like the annual kind of subscriptions. You actually get kind of free delivery and things, and you get free express delivery, which is amazing, right? But wait for this, okay? So the groceries arrive. Normal practice is that they put them at the door, right? Take a photo of it, knock on the door, and away you go. Okay, great. This particular delivery driver, okay, middle of the day, midday, burning hot sun, leaves all of the groceries at the end of the driveway, including all of the frozen goods. Just
Are you watching from the window, Michael?
Well, so happened to walk past the window, see him unloading, run out, go, what are you doing?
Save my bananas.
I said, what are you doing? And you know what he did? He drove off with half the bag still in his boot.
Really?
Yes.
Run away.
Not that this show is about personal gripes, so Michael tends to go there quite regularly.
Yeah. But isn't that extraordinary? So anyway, you can imagine that a complaint was made.
Oh, could imagine.
Straight onto the phone.
Anyway.
So you probably drove to the supermarket, spending all that time doing the complaining, having had to actually make the trip anyway.
Oh, no, Sean.
Chasing down that van.
Sean, you poor sweet boomer. No, complaints are made online.
Hey, I take that as an insult. I am not a boomer. That is like the ultimate insult. I'm
good though.
I'm X.
Yep, I know.
Poor
Just really
sweet
wanted to
boomer.
just burrow in under the skin there. Anyway, Adam,
can
over
we
to you.
wrap this show?
Over to you.
Come
I'm done.
on.
I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry I took a little bit of extra time, but I feel better now.
Yeah, something of an indulgence. Future Gen, what a great story. And delivery, customer service. Who would have thunk it? Customer service counts. It's a draw on that one. Even. Can't split them. Both great stories.
So I know you have your hands in the air because you are surprised you got a point or half point in that, but that does mean 2.5 to 1.5.
It does. Sean's won on the story count.
Okay.
In an emphatic way.
We don't need to do a points count.
Yes, he does. Yeah, and for new listeners, as Adam is going through, he is giving each category a score out of like 25 or something, and then he adds it all up. And so there is a chance that while Sean has won 2.5 to 1.5 overall, that I could have actually snatched a points victory here.
You could have, but you didn't. It's 92 to 91. Very close.
That is so much closer than I was expecting, and honestly, closer than I deserved.
What listeners need to realise, a fantastic story for Adam is like 24. A really, really bad, disastrous story is like 22.5.
Yeah, 21 maybe at the bottom.
Good show. Good effort. Thank you for arriving, Adam.
High quality battle. Thank you both.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Michael.
Make sure you're following the podcast, and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great weekend.